Hello and welcome to the Idiot Book Nook. My name is Blazewing. My pronouns are they, them.
I am the reading dragon, and my pronouns are she, her.
My name is Lady Punnet. My pronouns are primarily she, her, sometimes they, them. Today is a whatever floats your boat kind of day.
It's a spicy kind of day.
It is a spicy kind of day.
And I'm Critter Shy. My pronouns are she, her, the grip.
Your pronouns are they're grim.
Her pronouns are grim
in
today.
there, but like, ow.
Her pronouns are looking rather grim today.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Thief from the Queen's Thief series by Megan Whalen Turner. We're discussing chapter 11 today, but before we get into that, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at lanktr.ee/idiotbooknook. You'll be able to find links to our podcast, to our YouTube, to all of our individual socials, and all of that.
Too.
Gesundheit.
Don't let the demons out.
What are we thinking about chapter 11?
We fucking called it.
Yes, you did.
We fucking called it. With Embiotes being a traitor, and we were right. He's the one that ate the food. And there were other hints. Like, I didn't even think about the comb. Because I honestly thought, oh, maybe this is like one of the few things
that he like took from home or something, right? But yeah, no, like, I fucking knew it. It was that too much of a coincidence. I am deeply saddened by the loss of Pole, though.
Yeah,
and I will admit, I got teary-eyed when Sophos was talking about it. I kept it together, but
he didn't see a body.
Okay, good point. Okay,
no body was shown.
We're gonna use supernatural rules on this one. No body, no death.
No body, no death.
I forgot that's what happened to Pole, though. Like, him kind of going down with everyone.
That is such a Pole thing to do, though.
Yeah.
Like, this just proves that he's like a paladin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was... And I am very, like... Yeah, okay. I mean, like... The Magus obviously still, like, I don't think it's so much that he's changed so much as we're getting the full spectrum of his personality, of what is the persona that he has to wear for everything and who he is, I suppose. And apparently he's a guy that's willing to recognize his mistakes and apologize, which is a pretty big deal.
Nice.
Because he could have just gone the whole, like, I was only, acting according to the information I had, right? He could have easily gone that way.
And he also tried to cut a deal with the Queen to save Jin. Which, good on him. Even if Jin's like, yeah, nah, man, I'm not working for you. You shady.
And that's what I didn't expect, though. That he wouldn't want to work for the Queen and that she's a shady person. Because that's the first time that's mentioned, I think. It's the first time that we've gotten any inclination that Jen felt any kind of way, one way or another, about her. Which is weird, but...
The only thing we know about her, because this is like the first time we're hearing mention about her, like, in a bit more depth, is that she is very beautiful, but she is not known for being kind. And she acknowledges that, like, so first of all, girl boss moment, like, yeah, I know I'm not kind. And... just like, I can appreciate antagonists that knows they're not a good person. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, the way she sounds, like, yes, Queen. Walk into there like you own the place, that you actually do, in your robes that are, like, probably worth as much as a small fortune in a house.
Walk in there like you own the place, which you do. So, yeah, take that.
I'm definitely curious to see how this... So, did they essentially just accidentally do a big giant U-turn? They just went, wee!
I think so. Although, wait.
Yes and no.
Wait.
I wish this book had a... Does this book come with a map of, like, the country and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
It's at the front of the book.
And the back
Okay.
of the book.
Guys,
Check that out.
What?
so for those of you, I'm going back to the clothes for a second because I just remembered something. So for those of you in Twitch who don't know this, I'm a seamstress. I also do embroidery and sewing and knitting and all that, but that's not completely relevant. Jen said that the velvet felt nice, but the embroidery was scratchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird thing to catch.
That is a weird thing to catch. So here's the thing. I'm thinking they might have used a different material for the embroidery. But here's the thing. For a woman of her standing, she should have like top-notch embroidery of like silks and velvets. Scratchy tells me it could be made of like a wool and not even like a top quality wool.
Unless it's a specific kind of material that she had on purpose.
That's true too. But a queen of that standing having to wear this? Like, if I was a queen, I would not stand to wear anything scratchy. Especially because it sounds like that where she's from, she's like the head honcho. She's in charge. She doesn't have to, like, appease no man. And if I was a queen, I would want the best of the best. I would want things that make my skin feel like butter.
She definitely strikes me as she doesn't do anything without purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so if, for whatever reason, it could just be that it's like, because like he said, like she's dressed to remind people of like the old gods, right? So it could just be that it's a specific material for like ritual perspective.
I'm wondering if maybe her country isn't doing well financially.
That's the other option.
She went full out on the velvet, but had to like skim on the embroidery. That's my thinking.
Which is quite
what's
possible.
Your thought? What's your thought, Blaze?
I'm looking for something. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Also, she tried to perceive all motherly, but did anyone else, before Jen even said anything, get kind of icky vibes from her?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like she kind of reminds me of that girl that tried to say she was more beautiful than Aphrodite.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just like she's trying to imitate the gods, and I get it. Like the ancient Egyptians would do that because they're like the pharaoh is the personification of Ra, or things like that. But it's like it's weird.
Are we sure she's actually the queen?
What?
That the person he saw was actually the queen and not. I think the Magus would have known because he's been setting up that marriage for a while.
Would he?
I think so.
Jen's in the eyes of the gods right now. They're spotlighting him.
True.
The temple's been washed away. The gods have left their previous spot. We don't know where they are. We don't have eyes on them. Their last home is gone.
True. She could. I see where you're going, and it's a possibility.
Explain to the ADHD brain that has not catched up. Where are you going?
What if Jen's being followed a little more closely by the gods than he thought?
That
what,
the queen
you
is
think
letting him live for a reason.
Look what happened when they snuck out. They're standing there having full-on fucking conversations, and the description we get is there seems to be a bubble of silence around us.
It's the horses all over again. That's what I was thinking.
It's the horses all over again. However,
are you suggesting that maybe this Queen of Atolia was actually one of the goddesses?
I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility. It's a theory.
A game theory.
Speaking of which, Matt Pat is retiring as of March 9th.
Yeah, I saw that.
In fairness, as sad as I am to hear that, good for him because he's been doing this since 2011.
Yeah.
And he deserves a chance to just like sit down and play video games with his wife without like
and child.
Anyways,
and child. But back to our conversation.
So she visits. She sees Jen in the cell. They have a brief exchange. Not exactly a pleasant exchange. Then she's like, you know, get a doctor to look at him or something, get a healer to look at him. And suddenly he's no longer in the cell. He gets out of the cell, or he gets out of whatever room he's in, and goes looking for their belongings. Can't find his clothes. But the Magus's brooch, the comb, and his lock-picking kit are all sitting there, nice and pretty for him to find. At which point he goes and blows out the torches, he unlocks the doors. They have an entire conversation while they're leaving the fort, while they're riding across the bridge, without anybody noticing. They just barely managed to get across the river and foil the plans of those guys, the soldiers. You telling me
It's like
that's all just coincidence?
it's like they were rolling for advantage for everything, and they couldn't stop rolling for advantage until they got beyond a certain
Not
roll.
just rolling for advantage, rolling nat 20s.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
doesn't happen.
And then, like, the gods just granting them pass without a trace. The bubble of silence.
Yeah,
That's... There's something we're not seeing here. This is twice now this has happened since he's been in the temple.
and there was also that. So, the scar that he's now has on his cheek, he said that it reminded him of a particular shape, and that was
Feather.
actually significant.
Because it was the god of thieves Eugenides' sign of approval.
Yeah. So there's, I mean, we know that the gods are
We know that
messing
the gods
around
are
in
watching him. They've been watching him since he left Sunis, whether or not
Yeah.
they wanted to tell
It's-
him or not.
yeah. It's how much are they getting involved, and to what extent that is. I think that we're still unsure about.
We've agreed that this whole area is taking like heavy inspiration from the Greeks, right?
The Middle East, yeah, because the Middle East
Middle
tales,
East,
they're all retellings of older tales. They all
Mhm.
come from the same tales originally.
Yeah, so I am more familiar with the Greek persuasion, Percy Jackson fan. Still, I'm waiting for all the episodes and the Disney to be like released before I start watching them and critiquing them. But so typically, the gods in that pantheon were very wary about how they could interact. They could interact indirectly.
They were like loosish rules.
Mhm.
Like, or,
Mhm.
I wouldn't say loosish, but there were rules they didn't apply
can't
to
do
everyone the
this.
same way.
Except for Zeus. Zeus
We
just
don't
didn't
talk
give a
about
fuck.
Zeus.
He wanted to fuck.
No, he gave the fucks. But
We've mentioned this before, just before we get back on track. We've mentioned this before. The entirety of Greek mythology is Zeus stuck his dick in the world.
But back to my point. So with the Greek pantheon, typically there was a rule that the gods cannot directly interfere with the ways of mortals. They could indirectly do it, like Poseidon just like helping a ship get a little bit faster to an area by making the seas and the storms subside. Things like that. This is where the book's gods are definitely taking a nope. And like, there's no way for this to happen unless a bunch of gods were like, did not communicate with one another, like, oh yeah, we're gonna like do this. I'm gonna make it so the guards are really focused on this. I'm gonna make it so like everyone's having the best sleep of their life or the best sex, so they're not paying attention to anything. I'm gonna make it so that the river gets a little bit rougher when they pass by this certain point. They're directly interfering with a bunch of stuff, which I have mixed feelings about it, because it makes sense from a story perspective, especially since we've already said, oh yeah, the gods have had an eye on gens for a very long time, but it feels a bit like a Deus Ex Machina right now. Like don't get me wrong, amazing storytelling. I'm loving how it's going. it would have been a bit better if there was like chances where it almost seems like something's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little thing happens, like a guard's about to turn down an alley and see them, only for there to be like a crash or something happening a few blocks over that he runs to go investigate. Or something like that. That might just be me being a bit nitpicky about it, though, because I do also acknowledge that it might also be that I feel like the pacing's suddenly taking a left turn, because we already talked about, like, the first 6 chapters of this book was literally just them walking.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, 2 chapters away, they're meeting the queen. They have this big escape heist happen. They're crossing bridges. They're going over rivers. 2 of our characters have died.
It feels like this chapter could have been split in 2.
Yeah.
I think probably more could have been given to details if they had been split into like 2 different events. You know, like the things in the castle and then the escape.
Mm-hmm. Just maybe like that. I think it feels like a lot happened in one chapter, which, don't get me wrong, I love thick chapters because then it gives us more to talk about. But the downside to thick chapters is sometimes, unless you get the pacing very good or you follow the pacing of the book, it can sometimes feel a bit jam-packed.
Yeah. And it does kind of make me worry of how much is going to get packed into the last chapter.
Mm-hmm.
This in here doesn't have a poker face dragon. Stop it.
Carried by, no, you carried by poker face.
I hate to tell you,
Yes,
but you are a lot more readable than you like to think you are.
Oh, yeah.
I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't fucking hide that shit. And I never claimed to have a poker face. In fact, I like the reactions that I get out of you from not doing poker face.
It also shows through when you're DMing, because then we can usually tell if something's about to happen, or if we do something completely unexpected, like when I decide, like whenever Briar would pull pranks and stuff, or things, and just completely
even now we can
pocket.
see it on your face as you're thinking about it.
Yep.
Just all the things.
I definitely like. I'm glad that we were given explanations, though, as to like what some of the hinky shit was with Ambides. I mean, yeah, we totally called it, but it was nice to be like, yes, you are right, and these are the things that he is responsible for.
Yep.
But that's pretty much all I got for this chapter.
Ambides is a little dick. And I wonder... So here's the thing. We acknowledge that Ambides was a traitor. Were the rest of his family in on it? Or was this just the son thing?
I think that was just him.
Okay, but is the dad gonna get in trouble for this?
Nah.
Is this one person does something terrible and now the rest of you must suffer for it type situation, like in some media?
I don't think so, no. And I think if anything, by what we were hearing, I don't think his family would give a hoot if he got himself in trouble.
Basically,
at this to hang dry.
Yeah, no, at this point the family is like not even worth paying attention to, because of how low their status went, that for their son to have done this stupid thing and then just die over it, it's like, well, he did a stupid. He shouldn't have done stupid.
You gotta be tough.
Yep. He decided to be dumb and he got himself killed over it.
Blaze, what's with that face, Blaze? What's going on in your mind?
I can't talk about it.
Why not?
Did you go ahead?
Sure did.
Damn it.
Blazewing!
What did we talk about?
Listen here, you.
In this story, I was supposed to be the only one that knew what happened to Head because I had already read it several years ago.
Yeah, well, we're coming up on the last chapter, so
I will stand by my point, though, that unless there is a body, there is no death. Supernatural rules. So,
Yeah.
Ambietes can stay dead.
Mhm.
We don't care about Ambietes in this house. But Pole, until otherwise stated, until his body is on a pyre, dying the hero's death that he giving the hero's burial that he deserves, he is alive and probably has like a broken foot or something and being a grumpy puss about it. But he is fine.
On his way home to his wife and kids.
On his way home. Well, no, probably not to his wife and kids, but probably to like the king to explain the situation, and like they have to launch a rescue mission, and then on his way home to his then on the way to Sophos's dad to explain the situation, then on the way to his wife and kids, because he is very honor bound.
Honestly, I think he'd be the kind of guy who would not go home until he got Sophos back.
Yeah, probably. Because I don't think his Sophos' dad would be too pleased if he came back without Sophos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I picture his wife is like, you do what you gotta do, babe. I got this all covered here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Being a badass mama. Even though we didn't know he was married until, like, this chapter.
Yeah.
Well, because he didn't really talk about it, and Sophos was the only one that kind of knew, and he was like, I'm gonna have to tell them.
Poor Sophos, man.
Yeah, poor
that
Sophos.
Poor little cinnamon roll. Just.
He needs a cookie after all of this and some chalky milk.
Yeah, he needs a.
No, he just needs a vacation under his apricot tree.
Yeah.
That too.
Just let him spend the year at the villa with his apricot tree and his little sisters. And okay. Zeus, I need you to not do shit.
What else do we have for this chapter?
Zeus.
That's pretty
good. So let's talk about the Magnus for a little bit. And like I don't know if we can call it character development or if that's just a character that's always been there but he hasn't shown. But like Critter said, he acknowledges, yeah, I fucked up. I may have jumped to conclusions.
Yep. I'm
sorry for that. I'm going to do everything in my power, though, to make this up to you. Because I saw what you did. We treated you like a piece of shit the whole time. You still did your best to give us a chance to get away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I commend that kind of character. I appreciate that kind of person that can, like, own up to their mistakes and be like, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure, like, I can't guarantee you'll, like, get a great life, but at least you'll be alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think given, like, it was very unexpected given what he'd shown of his character so far.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very pleasant surprise for once, because I would have fully expected him to, like, very much throw Jen under the bus for this one. And
well, he tried to at first.
Yeah, but I think once he realized the gravity of his mistakes, like, he actually actively tried to fix it, which is pretty commendable.
Yeah.
I agree.
It was in those moments he knew he had fucked up. Oh God, Jen, I'm so sorry. What have I done?
And he still has this goal of, like, trying to unite all these people. And I at first thought, oh, this is, like, a self-centered thing. He wants to, like, move up the ranks, have bragging rights. No, he's like, there's a big danger. We need to be united when this danger comes. And that can only happen through marriage.
You know what he reminds me of now that you bring that up? How many people watch Game of Thrones?
I do.
The
Tyrion?
spider? No, the spider.
Oh!
So
you're not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, because his thing was like protecting against the greater evil, which would be the whites and those beyond the wall.
Yeah. He was like, I care about humanity. I want humans to live.
Yes. I may not like you humans, but I need you to live. So that way I can continue doing my shit.
Yeah. I like it here.
Almost like Peter Quill in a way.
Yeah.
Why do you care what happens in the universe? Because
Because
I live here.
Because I'm one of the idiots that live here.
So he's giving me very like lawful neutral vibes.
Yeah.
He has his own agenda. He wants things to go a certain way, but he has his own code of ethics to follow.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
But I think that's... Yeah, I don't think I can think of anything else.
Is traumatized.
Pardon?
Sophos is traumatized.
Oh, he should have figured that he was going to get himself traumatized at the beginning of this whole spiel.
The Magus, Jen, and Sophos are the 3 remaining individuals.
Yep.
They started out not really liking each other, not really getting along, not really understanding where the others were coming from, but
Except Sophos.
they
Sophos
learned-
wanted everyone to get along.
they learned to survive together because they had to.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get captured after their objective has been completed and then lost. And suddenly the Magus is like, we have to get along, otherwise we are not going to survive this, and we have to put up a united front. There was something else mentioned this chapter. Atolia, Edis, and Sunis all have to join ranks. Otherwise they are not going to survive the onslaught from the encroaching kingdoms. I'm seeing a bit of a mirror here.
Yeah. I had the same thought.
Jin?
Pardon?
Jin was from Edis, isn't he? Because he kept correcting them in the pronunciation and like being very offended that they were insulting the old gods. So isn't he from Edis originally?
I can't remember.
I think
Dragon.
so, but yeah, not sure.
Dragon, is Jin originally from Edis?
I believe so.
All right, I'm going to do a Google search.
Where's Sophos from?
Let me look. So I'll look up Jin.
Let me see here. Let me do a quick Google search.
I'm Googling. I got it. Okay, Eugene. Okay. Okay, so he has. I gotta be careful, like how far. He was born in the mountain country of Edis.
There we go.
So that's Jin. And I'll look up Sophos now.
I'm looking at Sophos. The half nephew of the king of Sunis.
So he's from Sunis.
No, he was the nephew of the king.
Yes, exactly what I just said.
Half nephew.
One half nephew.
Let me take a look.
Just make sure we don't have any spoilers.
I'm
trying not to.
Give me a second.
Are you looking up the Magus now?
I'm trying to find out where he's from, but I don't know if we have information on him.
I don't think it's ever been mentioned. I assumed he was from Sunis as well, since he's like there.
Nope, he's also from Sunis.
Okay. So we don't have anyone from Atolia, which makes sense. They just left there.
It was a thought. Just a random thought. On that note, I think this is a good place to wrap up this discussion for today.
Before that, I have a theory now.
What's that?
This is called the Queen's Thief series.
Yes.
Yes.
Edis doesn't have a queen. Or no, sorry, Edis does have a queen. No?
Yeah.
Atolia has a queen.
Yes.
Sunis does not have a queen.
Correct.
The whole point of this mission was to find out the rock, or at the very least what it looked like, so they could get Atolia's queen to marry the king. Because of the whole, like, thing. So, I think, my theory is they're gonna make this rock, or they're gonna find this rock, and it's gonna, like, appear for Jin or whatever. And the queen's still gonna get Jin as a thief. The only downside is she unfortunately has to swallow her pride and marry Sunis' king.
Interesting theory.
Because there's no queen, and I don't know how it could be the queen's series unless the king is like a drag queen, and I don't know if they would acknowledge that here, or if it's like, oh, it's like a mere, it's like, oh no, it's another theory. He becomes the thief to the queen of the gods.
You mean Hephaestia?
Yep.
Interesting theory.
Because she's the only other queen that's mentioned besides for the Atolian queen, who we don't got a name for.
Yeah.
On that note, we want to thank you for joining us for this episode of the Idiot Book Nook.
Thank
If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at lanktr.ee/idiotbooknook. You'll be able to find links to our podcast, to the YouTube, to the Twitch, to all of our individual socials. Don't forget to check out the new VTM stuff coming down the line, Vampire the Masquerade, which is up on the YouTube. For this episode of IBN, I'm Blaze.
I am the Reading Dragon.
I'm Lady Punnet.
And I'm Critter Shy.
And we'll see you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.